Hey, before we dive in, a quick note. While Laurie is a licensed therapist, this podcast is not a substitute for professional therapy or medical advice. If you need support, please reach out to a qualified professional, or if you're in crisis, dial 988. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. Let's crack open my brain and see what's inside. Welcome to the Mind Out Loud podcast. Hello, my friend. I don't know what session this is, but I know last time I think we talked, I had no interest in making a podcast or talking about my fucked up head or talking to you. Now today, I do feel like I want to talk to you. I've done a little homework this week. I actually have been journaling a little bit in my phone journal, and I figured out that in one way I can kind of keep myself journaling is I just talk into my phone. I open up the journal app and just talk into it. It's so much easier.
Yes. There's so many different ways, Nick, that you can journal today. So it's not the old school stuff where you have to carve out a half an hour. No, there's so many easier ways to do it. And when we let people know that moves energy through, anyway, I cut you off already. So
Not at all. Not at all. So at least I guess my point with that is I'm taking strides, because I think last time we talked, I said I wasn't doing my homework, and I've also tried to tell myself that I'm going to be kinder. Now, this is a funny story. Yesterday, I pretty much wrote the day off. I was in my black cloud, and I knew that I wasn't going to be really productive. So I tried to take my little mental health day. I went to the park, went for a hike, and you know those little mini library stations that you'll see in neighborhoods.
yeah, you have those in your neighborhood.
Yeah, well, we do. And then the park that I was at has one. And I opened up the cabinet, and inside, the book that was practically jumping into my arms was Negativity, the Negativity Remedy.
No way.
Yeah, it was a little soft covered book called The Negativity Remedy. So
I love stuff like this. See, the universe is nudging you.
It
Nudging
is.
you to get on board, and I think you are.
Yeah. Yeah. So I sat and I read that a little bit. So that's going to be,
Awesome. I bet your wife loved that story. Like, see.
I'm going to try and finish it. But see, that's my immediate negativity. It's funny. I had to laugh at myself, even sitting by myself in the park. I opened up the book and I thought to myself, I'm never going to finish this, because I'm just not much of a reader. But then I said, no, don't even start the Negativity Remedy book by being negative. So
that's so funny. Number one thing that we need to do is insight. So you're catching yourself. Oh my gosh. Before I even get going on positive, I'm already setting myself up for failure. So that's good.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what we do today. Do you want to hear some of the notes I've written down? Does that help you? Or do you think you want to take me in a direction today? I don't know what we're doing today.
I want to know more about what you learned about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think, and I had a conversation with one of my best friends the other day. And part of the reason why when we started this podcast, you and I initially wanted to do it from the point of view of me, of a 50-something-year-old man, because I felt like I was having conversations about, opening up to friends, and they were telling me, oh my gosh, I feel the same way. So I thought, okay, maybe I need to frame this podcast and the ideas that we talk about to people like me. And you said, no, it's not necessarily just, your age. The feelings that you're having are universal.
Yeah. Can be universal and situational, or biochemistry. There are lots of things, but you're right. It's not you don't exist on an island by far.
And it's so weird that we do feel so alone when we have these feelings, no matter how many times you tell yourself and how many times you talk to people who say, oh yeah, me too. It somehow seems and feels very isolating. And by that, I mean these days where I feel useless. I feel like I can get nothing done, and I want to go take the mental health ride for myself and give myself a break and take the time off. And then I feel guilty about it. And I feel like I'm being a sloth, and that I'm not getting any real work done. But I know that if I try to go get work done in that mindset, nothing's going to happen, and I'm going to feel even worse. It's this round and round cycle that is really hard to to justify to yourself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I told you before, anything that grows that shame cloud, like I'm going to shame myself into kicking my ass into gear. It typically it doesn't work, or it's not sustainable. So it might work in the moment, but if we're already coming from a place of deeply ingrained, I'm not good enough, or deeply ingrained, there's something wrong with me, more messages of there's something wrong with me are not going to help creativity flow through.
Yeah, makes sense.
We have to run away from the belief that we have to beat ourselves up. It's almost like we're thinking, let me beat this disorder out of me. Let me beat this sickness out of me by being as mean as I can to myself. That is the opposite of what we need to do in order to pull ourselves out of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, no doubt. Because one of the things in the book, I only read a few pages. That's as far as I was able to get in the time I had, but it was immediately talking about kindness, being kind to people, and I'm sometimes good at that, and sometimes I'm not. And I think that,
Yourself, other people.
well, that's funny because I think I dislike myself. So it's not as easy for me to default to being kind. I open doors and I pick up trash and I return my shopping cart to the corral. Those types of things. I do those things. I'm a good person. But yeah, I think it's more like I don't like me,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I don't know why that is. I feel like I did at some point, but it all does feel like it's getting worse and worse the older I get.
Okay. All right. So this is what's so hard for therapists because what I was going to go one way and I still want to, but what you just said made me think of something else. So I used to like myself. I used to have this confidence. I used to think okay, I'm whole, I'm complete, I'm great. So that would suggest to me that we would need to do parts work or inner child work, but it's called internal family systems, and that's because internally we have an entire family. We're made up of several different parts. There's a child who was in some way, shape, or form exiled. Let's just say there was bullying that was occurring. Excuse me. There was bullying that was occurring. So that's one of our parts. Another part might be the controller. Well, in order to get myself productive and reduce the anxiety or reduce any distressing feelings, I'm going to be overly controlling. Or another one. I mean, these roles go on and on and on. That's parts work, but I'm going to save that for another day. It's really, really cool and very
Okay.
moving. Hmm.
Okay. And maybe I'm even lying a little bit. I don't know if I was ever truly confident. I mean, we've discussed that. I was a little kid and you know picked on like many of us were. So who knows? I don't know. Where do you want to take me? You said you had something in mind. Now that you piqued my interest here.
Okay, so yeah, I did. So when we were going through your trauma timeline, right? These, yes. So those are definitely instances that are less than nurturing. Because remember, a trauma is either with a capital T or a lower T. Uh, what you have said to me is something that is very common, and that I hear from a lot of clients, which is okay. So no, obviously those were not fun moments, but they are disproportionate to the the loss of productivity or the loss of days that I feel, or the it's disproportionate to how terrible I feel about myself. So when I hear stuff like that, and by the way, I can relate to that, then I go to something else. We want to assess for different traits of either ADHD or different traits of OCD. Right away, I know what people are thinking. There's a stigma with ADHD. Oh my gosh, that's just an excuse for laziness. And so the pharmaceutical companies can sell all their money right? So that's the stigma there. OCD, immediately people think about germs, and there's so much more to it. There are many, many, many different subtypes and subcategories. So I wanted to just do some cursory testing with you on adult ADHD. It's hard to diagnose sometimes in adults and even more difficult for women. And I'll get to that as to why. So when I say this to
Okay.
you, I want to know what's occurring because I know there's so many different messages
Okay.
attached. Yeah.
So it's interesting because, on social media, you get all kinds of things, slammed in your face. And I've been seeing these different apps and the characteristics that it was calling out. I was like, oh my gosh, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. And it
Yeah.
was at the end, it was like, you may be ADHD. And then I was like, oh, bullshit. Like
Right.
exactly what you just said. Is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or is it just being a grown-up person and dealing with certain things? So yeah, I do feel like that's a little bit of a cop out or BS, but in the same breath, I'm actually very curious to know where I fall, because when I think about some of the struggles and the difficulties I had in school, I wonder if there was something going on. And I wonder now, when I bounce from 7 different projects in a day, I
Mhm.
wonder, okay, so I'm skeptical, but I'm curious, and I will, for lack of a better term, play along. I
Okay.
want to know.
Because see, you hit on something really important. So we can stay in that place of, oh, that's just a cop out, that's an excuse, and that's a reason to stay stuck. That's not what I'm doing here. It is, wouldn't it be so much more preferable to get an accurate diagnosis and then coping skills and perhaps, but not necessarily, medication to actually address it so that you have less suffering?
Yeah, yeah, because the one thing you said to me very early on was something to the effect of, whatever I was doing is not working for me. There's a reason
Mhm.
why I'm struggling, and it's time to work on fixing it. So
You,
yeah, okay. So it's baby steps, Laurie, baby steps.
you're all I need is a couple of inches of an open mind, right?
Got it.
Now, I know it's not my job to convince my clients. If they don't want to be here, then they won't come. But eventually, if the problem persists and it causes markedly uh, visible symptoms, not just to themselves, but to family, then it's time to do something about it. And
Yeah.
that's the opposite of getting stuck in it simply by identifying something. I don't know why people think that. We want to identify. You don't go to the doctor's office and they identify that you have strep throat and then they say, okay, bye. No, they give you the medicine, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Before you start your testing, I just want to do a brief recap in case anybody is joining us on this particular episode. My name is Nick. This is Laurie. I was in the television and media industry for 30 years, still am. I've decided I needed some therapy, some help with some issues that I was having. And I noticed my friend Laurie, who used to be in the news business, on LinkedIn. She'd become a licensed psychotherapist more than a decade ago. And I just thought, what a great way for me to start working through my problems. However, Laurie can't be my therapist because we have a conflict of interest. We know each other. But we started this podcast, Mind Out Loud, thinking I would like to be as open and honest as possible with listeners and myself, because I think there's a lot of people that are feeling the same way I do. And so that's where we are if you're joining us right now. So, Laurie, yeah, go for it. If you sense that there might be something to diagnose here, I'm all yours. Let's go.
Okay. All right. And this is just a cursory glance because but we have to start somewhere. There is no single solitary test for ADHD. But we're going to go through some of these right here and then just see where how far we get. Often notices that client fails to give close attention to details or makes careless mistakes at work or during other activities, overlooks or misses details or work that is inaccurate. At times, I need to specify this is at times.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, so that's one here because I'm getting ahead of myself, but there's a huge wave of hyper focus with ADHD. So this does not mean we are not successful people. Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right. So the next one is often has difficulty sustaining attention in tasks or activities. So difficulty remaining focused during lectures, conversations, or lengthy readings.
Hmm. Um, sometimes like I feel like it's not black and white. Like reading is tough for me because I sit down and I read and I can't stay focused. I'll often forget what I just read. I feel like I have to reread it. And I don't have the focus to sit and really read for a long time. But sometimes if it's interesting, then I can be okay and I can focus.
Mhm.
Um, so let me say no to that.
Okay. I'm going to challenge you just a little bit on that one. Here's why.
Sure. Okay.
It says often has difficulty. So we're not talking about the stuff that's easy and fun. We're talking about stuff that where we really have to focus, and you do because we learn how to overcompensate. It's really exhausting. But remember your comment about the negativity book. Oh my gosh, this was meant to be. I was supposed to find this. I'm not even going to finish it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's difficult to stay on track sometimes with stuff that's more work, more work.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I would say that's a yes on this one. Mhm.
Okay. All right.
And you can continue to disagree because once again, there's more diagnostic that comes after this.
Yeah. All
All right.
right.
Uh, often does not seem to listen when spoken to directly. So the mind seems to be having six other conversations in what do you like?
I'm laughing because I feel like if my wife could hear you ask me that question, her head would be going, yes, yes, yes. I, I guess that could be a yes. Because people are boring, Laurie. People don't tell good stories. They don't tell interesting stories. They go on and on and on. It's like, fuck, just tell me what you got to tell me. Make it boil it down. So, okay, fine. Yeah, I guess I do have.
That's hilarious. When my first husband found out I was going to go be a counselor, he would watch me have conversations with people and go, how is she going to be a counselor? She's up in her own world. And it's not that I personally am not thinking that they're boring. I'm just thinking about six or seven other parallel conversations. But either way, it's effort, it's emotional energy to stay focused, right?
Yeah, yeah. I guess sometimes I can be a good listener, but I guess I'd have to say yes to your question.
Yeah, and remember, it says often. So this comes, there are waves where we are, it's called the hyper focus, and we get more done than anybody in a specific amount of time. So all said and done, cumulatively, we've not only achieved but overachieved often. But there are bouts where we're doing absolutely nothing. It's like an on switch or an off.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's annoying.
All right. Keep hitting me with questions. I'm going to try and make them yes or no.
Okay. Often does not follow through on instructions or fails to finish projects. Let's see. Starts tasks, but quickly loses focus and is easily sidetracked.
Yes.
Okay. Next one. Often has difficulty organizing tasks and activities, difficulty managing sequential tasks, difficulty keeping materials and belongings in order, messy, disorganized work, has poor time management. And yeah.
Um, I I guess yes. I mean, all right. I'm trying to keep it to yes and no.
Here's why.
Yes.
I know there's so much detail, but I know we don't have a lot of time. Uh, we overcompensate. So, see, I don't see that in you at all. I see a very efficient, proficient person getting all of this audio stuff done that I have no idea to do now that I've been on a TV for 18 years. But we learn how to overcompensate. It's just exhausting. Okay.
I'm not a messy person. Our house is kept well, but I said yes to that last question because I'm looking around my office and there's things strewn about. I'm I can be organized, but sometimes taking the time to be organized is just not something I'm interested in.
Right. I got
So,
it. Okay. Next one. Often avoids, dislikes, or is reluctant to engage in tasks that require sustained mental effort. And then I have to differentiate between kids and adults here. Okay, for adults, work projects, preparing reports, completing forms, reviewing lengthy
oh yeah,
documents.
I hate that stuff.
Okay, so that would you say yeah on that one?
I think so.
Okay, we'll say I think so. Remember, yeah, because we're not psychological evaluate. This is not a psychological evaluation.
Sure.
First one. Okay. Oh, all right. G often loses things necessary for daily tasks or activities.
Um, God damn it. uh, not too bad. No, sometimes I've misplaced my wallet, and my wife will yell at me because it's just not yell at me, but she's like, just put it in the same spot, and I do. But sometimes I'll leave it in a pants pocket. But no, I think I got my stuff together. I know where my keys are, my wallet, my phone, and yeah, I think I'm functional that way. So no, I wouldn't say I often lose stuff.
Okay. All right. H is often easily distracted by extraneous stimuli.
For sure,
Yes.
for
Yeah.
sure.
What's
I've
your thing? Is
always
it leaf blowers or what bugs you in where you can't focus?
absolutely, yeah, leaf blowers, lawnmowers, somebody's noisy car.
Kids
This
trying
is
to get
everything is a squirrel to me. Everything's squirrel. You
yes.
know,
Mm-hmm.
always. It was, looking out the classroom window has not changed. Always looking outside to see what's out because it's a big time FOMO. What am I missing? You know?
Yes, 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 yes. Okay, all right. Next, often forgetful in daily activities. Uh, they don't differentiate between kids and adults. That's why it's taking me some time. So adults, returning calls, paying bills, keeping appointments, etc.
Um, yeah, I guess maybe I've gotten through the coping mechanism because I use my phone all the time to remind me to do things like
Yeah. Mhm.
everything, like little tasks, check the pool, turn off the lights, this and that. I'm always making little notes to myself. I have writing stuff down on my whiteboard, things like that. So, I don't know. Is that a yes?
I'll say yes, and here's why. I need the world, whoever's listening and
Yeah.
watching, to
Yeah.
know. I need them to know that if this sounds like you, it does not mean that you're a loser who hasn't figured out how to deal with life. We have figured out so many different ways to compensate for all of this stuff. The reason I keep saying we is because I have ADHD inattentive type that was not even diagnosed until last year. And I'm in
Oh,
my mid 50s as well. It's really hard to diagnose in women because I'm not hyperactive. I can stay on the couch for 3 days and love it. But it's hyperactive up here in your mind, in the mind. Okay. So we learn how to do like what TV, 11 years successful running show nationwide, these 2 degrees, pivoting at 40. We figure out how to compensate in amazing ways. So let's just be nice to ourselves because we spend way too much time doing the opposite up here. All right,
yeah,
then
that's for sure.
hyperactivity. Okay, now we're on 2. So this first one, we needed 6. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yay, me. Look at me scoring high on a test.
When in my younger years, when I would think about having this, I'd be like, no, 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 no. In my later years, I'm like, please God, let this be the answer because I just wanted relief. So let's look at it that way, okay?
Okay. All
All
right.
right. So now we are on number 2. This is the part where we differentiate between hyperactivity and impulsivity. Okay,
Okay.
so 6 or more again of the following symptoms that have persisted for at least 6 months to a degree that is inconsistent with developmental level, meaning that it bothers us way more than it should and negatively impacts directly on social and academic or occupational activities. All right. So, um, often fidgets with or taps hands or feet or squirms in seat.
I mean, I'm fidgeting with something as we're talking right now. Sitting here playing with a Velcro strap.
Are you serious?
Yeah, yeah. This is just a little. It's just a cable tie for a Velcro cable tie, and I've just been sitting here messing about with it. Yeah, I sometimes, you bounce your foot, bounce your leg. I'll sometimes do that. I don't think I'm too squirmy though.
No.
Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm okay. But I
I don't
let's
know if that's
maybe
a yes then or
I would
let's
say no to that. I
let's
would
say
say yeah.
no on that one. All right, let's go to this one. Let's often leaves seat in situations where expected to remain seated, such as a lecture.
No,
Yeah.
no,
No? Okay.
no, for sure. No, I stay put.
Feelings of restlessness, feeling as though you need to get up, walk, move to push through anxiety. I'm trying to edit this for to separate kids and adults.
Yeah. Um, no, I don't think so. I mean, I'll take breaks during my workday to go outside, get a little sun.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, then that's a no. So I'll explain how this all gels or comes out in the end, okay?
okay.
Because there are different subtypes of ADHD. So, all right, let me go to the next one. Unable, often unable to relax, to this says to play, often unable to relax. So the play is for the kids, or to take part and in and enjoy leisure activities.
Um, that's a maybe a yes.
Okay.
It's maybe a yes. But I feel like I've gotten better. If it's something I like to do, if we're out camping, then I can happily sit in a hammock and relax. But
Yeah.
I can't stand just watching TV on a Sunday or a Saturday on a beautiful weather day. There's just too many things I feel like I should be actively doing than to just sit around.
Okay. So I would also say that that's a no then, because you're simply talking about preferences. So this is why we're seeing more in underneath the level one than we are in number two, in the level two. And that's just stay with me on this. All right.
Okay.
Okay. E is often on the go, acting as if driven by a motor, unable to be uncomfortable being still for extended periods of time, as in restaurants, meetings, may be experienced by others as restless or difficult to keep up with.
No, I would say no.
Okay. Often talks excessively.
No,
Nope. Okay.
I don't think so. I
Often,
hope not.
no, I don't get that impression from you. No. Often
Says the guy hosting a podcast. Go on.
well, and the guy who also forgot my birthday.
That's true.
So
That's true. I
I'm
did
trying to
forget
say,
that.
I'm just kidding.
I did.
I'm kidding, Nick. No.
I only forgot it by like 24 hours, so it wasn't too
Yeah.
bad.
And you don't owe me anything. No. Okay. Let's see. Often blurts out an answer before a question has been completed.
No.
Okay. Often has trouble waiting his or her turn.
No.
Okay. Often interrupts or intrudes on others, butts into conversations, games, activities, just kind of inserts himself.
No. No, I'm too bashful for that.
Okay. All right. All right. So here's what we're seeing so far. Uh, Predominantly, this one for sure. The persistent pattern of inattention. We're not seeing the hyperactivity part, but I'm going to keep going.
Okay.
Does this make sense? Because in that first one, under one, we had all of them, but except for,
Yeah.
and in this
Yeah.
one, we're not seeing a lot of it, if any. Okay.
Okay. Got it.
So there are predominantly three different types, predominantly, of ADHD. And one is the inattentive type, which our minds are so overactive. So you don't have the impulsivity type. I would say it's ADHD inattentive type, which comes with the following symptoms, um, or can difficulty focusing, sometimes trouble listening, especially when you don't find the conversation interesting. sometimes poor organizational skills, rejection sensitivity. That doesn't mean we don't push through, but it seems disproportionately painful. Over processing, overthinking, rehearsing our conversations. People look at us and are like, why are you having a conversation with no one in front of you? Because we're either rehearsing it what for it to come up in the future, or we're rehearsing how we wish it went in the past. How does that sound for you?
I don't know that I feel necessarily good about having this preliminary ADHD diagnosis because, like I said earlier, it's kind of like who gives a shit? Like it's just I don't know what to feel about that because I it sounds like everybody's being diagnosed with this these days, and I I don't know if that solves anything for me. It really just makes me feel like get over it. And I don't know. I don't know. Help me
Well,
through this one.
and even when you do find out different ways to alleviate some of the symptoms, that will still come up. I still fight that shame of, are you serious? It's going to be another loser day where I binge Netflix all day long and order DoorDash. Seriously, another day? But overall, my days are extremely productive. Overall, it's just not. See, here I go again, thinking that it's mostly me. It's just not like most people where they are consistent with their energy. Mine's, I'm almost like so down, my switch is off for 3 days, and I'm dragging myself to function. But then when it's on, it's like, look out. And I'm hyper up here in my thoughts, and then also in my behaviors in getting stuff done. So then we
Yeah.
incorporate the different coping skills with medication if the client is interested in that, and they may not be. That's okay.
Yeah. I think I am interested in trying to level off somehow, in trying to just be um even a little bit more even instead of having these great days where I am happy and I want to,
Yeah.
climb a mountain to those days where I do want to just melt away and not be bothered and just I don't know, lay in a hammock somewhere. I would rather, but again, is that just being part of being human though? These ups and downs of life, and isn't that just part of being human? Is it really a disorder, or is it just identifying your personality type and understanding it and being okay with it?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I don't like the word disorder. I hate that every single illness in here, and I don't even like the word illness, has the word disorder. I think you're right. It's what kind of brain chemistry was I born with? What the nature versus nurture, right? What kind of brain chemistry was I born with, and what happened to me, and how does that shape who I am? So yes, you're right. Part of life is challenging.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is meant as a tool to narrow down what's going on within our operating system so that we can operate better.
Yeah, that feels like a better way to say it because I don't feel like there's a well, that's not true. There are days where I feel like there is something wrong in
Mhm.
my head. And that's why I've sort of jokingly told you my fucked up head because there are days where I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, what is fix
Yeah,
this
it can be
this
agony sometimes. I know what you're
yeah."
about. That sounds dramatic, I'm sure, to some people, but if you're in the know, you know. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're trying to get to here and the people that we're trying to get to is yeah we get it, we understand, and I think it is um so okay, let me switch here, and this is maybe maybe anybody who's listening including yourself uh, for telling somebody that he might actually have ADHD and now watching me sit here and just freaking just short circuit because there's so many things in my head that I want to try and say. Okay, yeah, maybe you're right. And
I'm not God. I don't know everything. I'm just trying. I'm just going through how I was trained and what I've experienced. But tell me what's going on in your
well, what
mind.
do we do next? I mean, I guess if I was sitting in your office as a therapist and you went through that, and now I'm trying to process the idea of what I've suspected for many years in my life that then maybe there is some sort of attention deficit going on with me. Now, what do I do now? Now, do you send me to another therapist? Do I go deeper for more psychological testing to figure more things out, or is this kind of high level, so to speak, quote diagnosis enough for you and I or anybody and their therapist to continue along
Yeah.
to find things to manage this high level diagnosis of attention deficit?
Well, that's a very good question because you do want to get someone who's trained, and that the more training they have, the better off you should be. Uh, a psychological evaluation is expensive, and has to come from a PhD. There are waiting lists. There's so many different factors that come into play. Ideally speaking, I would send everyone to get a psychological evaluation. I know that many cannot afford it though. So if and I have had enough training in ADHD and having lived it to be able to, if it's not a real severe case, if it's a real severe case and I'm not helping, I will immediately refer out because what I care more about than retaining a client is that they have some relief. I want them to get the most relief as soon as possible. However, I want everyone who's listening to know this is not about giving anybody an excuse to do nothing. In fact, it's the opposite. It's like, okay, now you know, or now we have some ideas, and now here's what you got to do. You can either stay stuck and do nothing about it and say, this is all bull. And so I'm going about my life and I'll just figure it out. Okay, then therapy's a waste for people like that, right? For those who think, okay, well, let me just keep my mind open. Let me see if I'm a good fit with this therapist, and we talk about modifying behaviors, modifying thoughts, uh, getting a harness around our looping, ruminating, spinning, toxic thoughts. Let me see if some of these can help me improve or elevate my mood. Let me give it a shot, but it does require work.
There's a part of me that feels a little bit validated
Mhm.
that some of the things that I've struggled with through my life, from tests in high school to staying on task at work,
Mhm.
um, there's a bit of a vindication thinking, okay, see, you are dealing with something that maybe other people aren't. But then there's also, like I've said, that it's just me. It's just the
That's
way
right.
I'm built.
Yeah, it's
Um,
it's not an excuse to not do life. You're right.
so what do I do with
Have to
this
figure-
knowledge? What do I
Okay,
do with this
then that's
knowledge now?
that's the next thing. So then we would figure out, okay, what do we need to do to get Nick out of that space faster? Because really, that's what we're looking for. We're not. I'm going to be realistic. Okay. First of all, I would not have diagnosed you with this so soon, just so you know. And
Mhm.
yeah, if you were truly my client, I don't like labels to follow people. So I'll do an adjustment disorder, which everyone has anxiety when they have to adjust in life, right? Until I know more that it will actually help them. So there's that genomind test that we're talking about to find out what's going on in my brain chemistry. For the last 30 years, for me, it's been a complete guess with any doctor I've gone to, just a total guess. Uh, then I found out, thanks to Dr. K here, a colleague of mine, that a DNA swab test exists to tell you what's going on in your brain chemistry, the actual genes that are specific to how mood regulation. And that was really eye-opening for me. So it's a combination of both. the psychiatrist's help of that specific test. And I'm not talking about the ones that exist out there where they just hand you a piece of paper and say, take this drug or that drug, or your body's going to do better for this drug. No, it's about gene 1 all the way down through 24 that are responsible for outlook, motivation, um, look it on the bright side, positivity, gratitude, all of that stuff. It is fascinating to get an eye into here, whereas before it was always just a mystery. We're going to get your specific treatment plan together, and it would be a partnership in here because it definitely has to be reachable or attainable. So if we aim for the stars and then someone who already struggles with positive outlook fails, then we've done more damage than good. So we would brainstorm together. What do we do? Immediately in the morning when I'm on top of my game, and if my eyes open and immediately I can just feel that doom and gloom and I'm worried about this, that, and the other thing. If I'm on top of my game, I know, okay, I'm going to pull up my app and don't laugh at me, Nick. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to meditate for 10 minutes. Why? Because especially our brains need to practice being calm. We need to practice that. And this is the neuroscience that I was talking to you about. The gray matter between the middle part of the brain, which is, positive motivation and positive outlook, the gray matter increases up to the frontal lobe where we can actually believe that positive things are coming our way, that things are going to work out for me. And then that just fuels more creativity and more positivity. That's a fact. Those are proven by brain scans. There's no disputing that. So if people want to say, meditation, that's a bunch of bull. Oh, we're okay, fine. But once again, then don't even come to therapy. It's not going to help. So
Okay.
that's one. And what we also know to be true about this, and this once again is neuroscience proven, empiric research based is what I'm trying to say. The amygdala in the brain, which is it's overworking itself in people like you and me. So it actually swells. And that is the part of the brain that emits or secretes stress hormones. So cortisol, I can't even think of all of them now, but our bodies are flooded with stress hormones. So the amygdala is constantly working overtime. So we're in fight, flight, freeze. That's the shutdown phase, right? That shutdown phase where screw everything. I hate the world. Bye. And we lower the drawbridge, or we raise the drawbridge and say, don't talk to me till I emerge again. Those are the things that get activated when we're in that excited central nervous system state for too long. So we need to practice bringing that down. And studies have shown that pictures of the amygdala from the beginning, then through 6 weeks of meditation, 6 weeks later, it's already smaller.
I'm laughing because I'm imagining a person who is dealing with attention deficit,
I know.
focusing in a quiet room and trying to get their brain to calm down on a regular basis seems impossible. And I have meditated. I've struggled to stay in a consistent regimen of it. I will do it sometimes when I feel like I need to calm down, but I haven't been consistent with it. And it seems very difficult to just shut my brain down or to calm down and do it. But when I do feel better. It's just it's laughable because what's going to work is what is so difficult for a person who is struggling with attention.
There's a way around it though. And I'm laughing with you because so many of my clients on this very couch will start laughing too, going, you might as well ask me to float. I can't do that.
Yeah, right. So what's the answer? What's the
Yeah.
tip there?
It's called guided imagery. So
Okay.
make sure and I have all sorts of resource sources, and they're all over the internet on someone who's guiding you through. So you can even pick a message of what you need today. If you wanted a message for yesterday, did you say you had what you,
I
did you,
had a Boo Radley day yesterday.
that's what yeah, did you have okay. So what message would have helped you if you could wave your magic wand and it infiltrated? What message would that have been yesterday?
Oh, go get outside, get some fresh air, which is what I did. I went and got some fresh air and exercised a little bit. So that or maybe a message of don't worry, everything's okay, kind of
Okay,
thing.
that's the one I'm looking for. So reassuring yourself that what
Yeah,
reassurance did Boo Radley need yesterday?
yeah,
That
yeah.
it's all going to be
Reassurance.
okay. It's all going to work out for me. Okay. Then you can specifically, with using certain apps or certain uh, sites to go to, and it only has to be 3 minutes a day. So nobody can tell me they don't have time for it. That's not true. Even with the 3 minutes a day after 6 weeks, the amygdala still shrinks.
Okay.
Yeah. So guided imagery of whatever you message you need today. I need to feel more confident today. I need to feel less worried about finances. I need to know that I have what it takes to figure this out, even though I'm frightened sometimes. Whatever message you need, you can type that into YouTube and then say 5 minutes of meditation. I've done that many times. What do I need today?
Okay.
I'm
So
off. Yeah.
so search maybe a tip to somebody listening could be just there's a million different apps, but a guided meditation if you're struggling.
Mm-hmm.
You're not at the guru level to be able to sit in a quiet
Oh, I
room
can't
and
do it. I
uh,
cannot do it. No.
okay, so a guided meditation is and
Yes.
could it be as simple as listening to some of your favorite music and just giving yourself some
That,
time?
that's another coping skill, another healthy coping skill. It's not the same as meditation though,
Okay.
because you're practicing slowing down your breathing, and they'll guide you through that too. So with the messages, they'll say cleansing breath in and release. I know it feels like, oh my gosh, this is so psychobabbly flowery. I can't stand this stuff. But remember the science behind it. This practice it closes the valves of all of those stress hormones coursing through your body, which by the way, cause all types of illness, not just emotional, physical as well.
Right. Okay. All right. So we learned some things today.
Yeah,
For sure. I did suspect all these years, only as I got older, though. I think some of the issues that I had in school I guess I'm a Gen Xer born in '73. It wasn't identified.
right.
You sat and you did your tests, and the kids that could sit still or had good memories got good grades,
Hmm.
and the kids like me who had kind of poor memories or got nervous during tests or yeah, you didn't do as well.
Right.
But it's not necessarily that you're stupid, although you felt so then. It's just that your brain is just processing things in a different way. Like you said earlier, it was interesting. You just have maybe a different software version
Yes.
that's running things. Um,
Exactly. And
yeah.
if people could just look at therapy that way, okay, I'm gonna go figure out what type of software I have and how to best take care of it. That's what this is about. We are not giving anyone, we're not supposed to be, that's not a good therapist, an excuse to sit on your butt and do nothing. Once you find out what might be going on, it's time to get to work.
Thank you, Laurie. I think that's interesting. I thought I would feel more excited and more relief by getting some sort of uh, uh, diagnosis, but I guess I just have to figure out how to deal with this. And hopefully, at our next session, you'll help me with some more coping skills with this.
And so what I would have my client do is to make mental note or take notes, because your brain is kind of just processing, well, okay, does this really seem to fit for me? What am I, if I'm having a lot of resistance to it, what is that about? Is it actually based in fact, which it might be, or is it me resisting it because it makes me feel like a big wuss who's having a reason to do nothing? Examine that. I want you to pay attention and explore that, Nick. So
Okay.
there's a reason why you just don't know right now. I don't really know how I feel about that. It takes time. Your mind's got to process it, take notes of that, and bring it back to me.
Okay. Thanks, Doc.
You're welcome. Patient. We actually call them clients. Mhm.
Right.